July 19, 2003. Little Halton, Greater Manchester, England. 3 a.m. A woman is walking home alone. A man grabs her, drags her down a motorway embankment, strangles her until she loses consciousness, and rapes her. One of the most violent attacks you'll hear about in this series. And the woman survived, which means she could identify her attacker.
She did. She pointed to a man named Andrew Malkinson in an identity parade. Case closed, right? Police have their guy. Jury convicts. Justice served.
Except the attacker had no tattoos. Andrew Malkinson had prominent tattoos on both forearms. The attacker was described as 3 inches shorter than Malkinson, with a hairless chest. Malkinson had chest hair.
And yet, he was convicted anyway, sentenced to life. He would not walk free for 17 years.
And here's the part that will make your stomach drop. The actual rapist's DNA was sitting in a police database by 2009, maybe earlier. Nobody came for Andrew.
Andrew Malkinson was born in 1966. By 2003, he was 37 years old, working odd jobs, living simply. Not the kind of man who made headlines, which is exactly why this happened to him. After the attack, police conducted an identity parade. The victim, traumatized, in shock, picked Malkinson out. But even she wasn't sure.
And this is important. During the trial of the actual perpetrator, which happened just this year in 2026, it came out that the victim told police she was not sure Malkinson was her attacker after seeing him in court.
Police encouraged her to testify against him anyway, because in their minds, they already had their man.
There was no DNA evidence linking Malkinson to the crime at trial. None. The conviction rested almost entirely on eyewitness identification, a method we now know to be deeply unreliable, especially under trauma.
The jury deliberated for 9 hours and convicted him 10-2. 2 jurors said no. 2 people in that room looked at the evidence and said, "This doesn't add up."
Andrew Malkinson was sentenced to life imprisonment. Minimum term, 6.5 years.
He could have been out in 6.5 years if he admitted guilt.
He never did, because he wasn't guilty. And that decision to maintain his innocence cost him everything.
Here is where the story stops being a tragedy and becomes a scandal.
In 2007, 4 years into Malkinson's sentence, forensic scientists retested samples from the crime scene. Cold case review, standard procedure.
They found DNA from an unknown man, not Malkinson, someone else's genetic material recovered from the victim from the night of the attack. The Crown Prosecution Service, the CPS, was informed of this finding by December 2009.
Let that land. 2009. They knew. There was another man's DNA at the scene, and Andrew Malkinson was sitting in a prison cell.
The CPS advised against further examination of the sample. They said there was no match in the National DNA database.
Which was true at the time. But databases grow, people get added. You don't just give up. The Criminal Cases Review Commission, the CCRC, the body that's supposed to catch wrongful convictions, was also told about this DNA. They declined to review Malkinson's case. On cost-benefit grounds?
Cost-benefit grounds, a man's life measured against a budget line. Malkinson appealed in 2006, applied to the CCRC in 2009, reapplied in 2018, denied every time.
And here's the cruel twist. He could have been released after his minimum term. 6.5 years. But because he refused to admit guilt, parole boards kept saying no.
The system that put him there was now punishing him for insisting he didn't belong there.
His name is Paul Quinn. Quinn had a prior conviction for raping a 12-year-old girl back in 1993. But because the National DNA database didn't fully exist yet, when he was convicted, his profile wasn't in the system.
It was added in 2012 as part of a nationwide operation to collect DNA from all convicted sex offenders.
So from 2012 onward, the technology existed to match that 2007 crime scene DNA to Paul Quinn.
Malkinson didn't find out for another decade.
In 2022, Paul Quinn was finally arrested. DNA testing found a link between him and the sample from the original crime scene. 1 billion times more likely to be his DNA than anyone else's.
1 billion.
And Quinn's ex-wife testified that on the night of the attack, he left home wearing a white shirt with a blue stripe, matching the rapist's description, and came back without it. He'd also searched online for information about Malkinson's campaign to clear his name in 2019, before it was widely reported.
And he'd searched how long is DNA kept in database. After news broke that an unknown man's DNA had been found.
He knew they were getting close.
Paul Quinn was found guilty of rape, grievous bodily harm, and intentional strangulation on April 17, 2026. This year,
Andrew Malkinson had been a free man for 6 years by then, living in a tent in Spain.
Andrew Malkinson was released from prison in 2020, not because he was exonerated, but because of good behavior. He still had a rape conviction on his record. He spent 19 months after release living off universal credit. 19 months.
No job, no reputation, no home. Because officially on paper, he was still a convicted rapist. And then, almost as an insult, there was a rule in the UK that said wrongfully convicted prisoners had to pay back their prison living costs out of any compensation they received. The state imprisoned you for something you didn't do, and then billed you for the room.
That rule was eventually scrapped in 2023, in part because of Malkinson's case. But the government made clear past wrongful conviction cases wouldn't be able to claim back under the new rule.
His conviction was finally quashed by the Court of Appeal in July 2023. 20 years after the attack, he said he felt he had been forcibly kidnapped by the state.
Greater Manchester Police apologised.
He called it meaningless.
The head of the CCRC, Helen Pitcher, the woman who oversaw the body that failed him, resigned in January 2025, just before she could be formally removed. The CEO of the CCRC resigned later that year after accusations of trying to sanitize an independent report about the case. Nobody went to prison, nobody was charged, everyone just resigned.
Here's what I keep coming back to. This wasn't one mistake. This was a chain. Police pressured a witness who wasn't sure. Jury convicted on eyewitness testimony alone. The CPS buried DNA evidence in 2009. The CCRC declined to investigate on cost grounds. Parole boards punished him for claiming innocence. And after exoneration, the government refused to retroactively fix the compensation rule. Every institution that was supposed to catch the error chose not to. And Paul Quinn, a man with a prior conviction for child rape, spent those 17 years free, while Andrew Malkinson sat in a cell insisting he didn't do it. One man's stubbornness, his absolute refusal to lie and say he was guilty, is the only reason this story has an ending at all. If he had taken the deal, admitted guilt, walked after 6.5 years, Paul Quinn would never have been caught. Think about that.
Andrew Malkinson received a compensation payment from the Ministry of Justice in February 2025. The amount has not been disclosed.
Whatever the number, it can't buy back 17 years. It can't give him back the person he was before.
He's spoken about wanting to use his story to push for reform, to make sure this doesn't happen to someone else. I think about what it takes to hold on for that long, to say I didn't do this every day for 17 years, when the entire system is telling you that you did.
That's not just survival. That's something else entirely. If this case tells you anything, it's this. The justice system is not designed to correct itself. It is designed to protect itself. The only thing that changed the outcome was one man's refusal to disappear. His name is Andrew Malkinson, and it took the world 20 years to say it right. This has been ShadowDossier.